Fridays are awesome, and this is our penultimate Friday of the school year. We'll be back next week. First up today on CNN Student News, a Veterans Affairs scandal gets bigger. The U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs has the job of giving medical care and government benefits to people who've served in the military. It has a network of hospitals nationwide. Dozens of them are under investigation. The problem? Veterans have had to wait, sometimes indefinitely, to see a doctor when they needed to. At a VA hospital in Arizona, a source told CNN that around 40 patients died waiting. A report released this week found that 1,700 veterans waiting to see a doctor didn't get an appointment, and they were never put on a waiting list. Veterans Affairs Secretary Eric Shinseki calls the report reprehensible and says he's not waiting to set things right. But the Obama administration is taking heat over this. Republicans and Democrats are calling for Shinseki to resign. Athletes, coaches, and doctors were in Washington, D.C. yesterday. President Obama was holding the first White House Healthy Kids and Safe Sports Concussion Summit. He was introduced by a teenage soccer star whose multiple concussions eventually took a toll on her athletic and academic performance. So the goal of the summit is to find new ways to figure out how serious head injuries are when they happen and how to treat them more effectively in the days ahead. The president said that sports are vital to the country, that they're fundamental to American culture. But because he says there are no solid numbers on how often concussions happen in football and other contact sports, better research, better equipment, and better methods of addressing head injuries are needed.
Time for the shout out. If you were to spend $1 every second, how long would it take you to spend $1 billion? You know what to do. Is it 29 days, 7 months, 7 years, or 32 years? You've got 3 seconds. Go! At the rate of $1 a second, it would take you about 32 years to spend $1 billion. That's your answer, and that's your shout out.
Kind of gives you some perspective on our next story. It involves $3 billion and 2 brands you know, Apple and Beats. Computer company Apple announced yesterday it is buying Beats. The price is $3 billion. For that, Apple will get headphones, the speakers, the technology. It'll also get the Beats music streaming service, which has about 500,000 customers. That's not much when you compare it to, say, Pandora, which has 250 million. And the Apple company has enough money to buy dozens of Pandoras. But Apple's CEO says this deal with Beats will help his company make the world's most innovative music products and services. Beats co-founder Dr. Dre is calling himself the first billionaire in hip-hop. He and Jimmy Iovine, who also founded Beats, will be going to work for Apple. All right, think for a moment of some of the world's wonders. The Great Pyramid of Egypt, the Great Wall of China. These weren't built by one person. It took teams of people working over time to get these projects started in the ancient world. Same idea behind swarm robots today. It's not one machine capable of doing all things. By working together, they're a little more like we are.
I mean, it's easy to say why I wake up in the morning, right? I work with robots. It's always fun to come in and play around.
So typically when you think of robotics, you think of one human-like, complicated robot. So swarm robotics is the kind of robotics that uses large numbers of simple robots rather than one or a small number of sophisticated ones. So we envision systems like this someday being useful in settings where we want construction done, but we don't want people to be the ones to do it. You know, if we want to build underwater, if we want to build like marine research stations or oil drilling platforms, or if we want to build on other planets. So that's obviously decades away. Systems like these, I think in the shorter term, could be used for things like building levees out of sandbags for flood prevention and be able to keep the humans who'd otherwise have to do that work out of harm's way. If something happens to some of the robots, if some of them get swept away by rising waters, none of the others need even take notice. They don't have to do anything differently, they just keep working. So we were inspired by termites. They're not the ones around here that destroy buildings, but the ones on other continents that build. Termites can build mounds more than 40 feet tall.
The beautiful thing about the termites, right, is that there is really no central form of coordination. It's not like the queen sitting there telling every one of them what to do. They sort of react to their local environment and try to figure out what to do just in that situation. So we're trying to do the same with the robots. The beautiful thing about the algorithm is actually they don't have to talk together. There's no central point of coordination. The way they do communicate is through the environment, right? So if I place a block here, that'll make someone in the future come by and notice that that block is placed there, and then it's going to react to that. We're not intending to replace humans, we're intending to work in settings where humans can't work.
I like state nicknames. Those of today's roll call schools are the Gem State, the Lone Star State, and the Wolverine State. The Gem State is Idaho, the capital is Boise, and the school on today's roll is Boise High School. Go Braves! Everything's bigger in Texas might explain why so many schools there watch our show, including Wilkinson Middle School. Hello to the Wildcats in Mesquite. And in the Wolverine State of Michigan, Anchor Bay High School is watching in Fairhaven. Shout out to the Tars. We often talk about how driving accidents are a leading cause of death for American teenagers. But if you look at Americans as a whole, the #1 killer is heart disease. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says 1 in every 4 deaths is because of heart disease. It's a physical burden, an emotional burden. It can be a financial one. That's what inspired a CNN hero to help.
I've been sick for my whole life. I can't do what most people can do. I can't go sleepovers, I can't play football.
Come on, Brandon. You'll be alright, okay? Brandon was 5 weeks old when he got his heart transplant. I've been dealing for Brandon's heart disease since he's born.
Heart disease is the #1 killer in America. It can happen in a second, and it uproots your life entirely.
Me llamo Lily. Baila, 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 baila.
A lot of families travel to New York City for top cardiac care. However, New York City is also one of the most expensive places to live and stay. My father passed away after battling heart disease for nearly 2 years. While we were at the hospital, we met countless families that didn't have a place to stay. They were emotionally drained and financially not in the best situation. How are you guys doing and feeling? So I co-founded Harboring Hearts. Our organization helps families with emotional and financial support and any other types of emergency needs.
Did you get the gift cards and everything? Yes. Okay, good.
Brandon needs to have biopsy every few months.
Okay.
Without the foundation, we don't be able to be close to the hospital because my economical situation. I want to really thank you, helping us exactly in the time we really need it.
After my father passed away, I wanted to do something positive and bring happiness and relief and support to the families in need.
Mr. G is a goat who was rescued from someone who wasn't taking care of him. But he wasn't happy in his new home at an animal sanctuary. He refused to eat, seemed depressed, was just moping around. Then animal control found out he was raised with a burro who'd become his best friend. They'd gotten separated during the rescue. So Mr. G's caretakers located the burro, reunited the two, and both are living happily ever after. Seems the burro was dang key to Mr. G's happiness. Neither was sheepish about the reunion, and as far as the burro's concerned, well, she got her goat. Not a bad way to goat into the weekend, and though we gotta hoof it, we hope you'll make a room in it for more CNN student news on Monday.